Hello everyone, Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Welcome back. I hope that you are all well. And if you are new, thanks for checking out my channel. Please hit subscribe and stick around. Today I am going to be sharing 5 books on my shelves that I think will break my heart. This is inspired by a blog that I read a while ago now from Mom Advice. They interviewed Adam Sokol, who is the host of a podcast called Passions and Prologues, and they talked about sad books to read when you want to ugly cry. So I will leave a link to that blog below, and you can check it out and see if you have read any of the books that Adam suggested and talked about. A few of the books he mentioned are actually on my wish list. I want to read How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu, I think it is, which I'm hoping might make it to the next round of the BookTube prize. So potentially I would have the opportunity to check it out. I also have The 100 Years of Lenni and Margot by Marianne Cronin on my wish list, and he had mentioned that. And then 2 books that Adam also mentions that I think just sound so intriguing that weren't on my wish list but are now, are because, you know, he was very convincing as he talked about them. And they are I Liked My Life by Fabiaschi, I think, and The Bridge by Bill Konigsberg. Both of those totally sounded like my kind of books, so they are now on my radar. And then Adam mentions 2 books that are both by the same author, and I have read a book by this author before and loved it. And these are also 2 books that I actually have on my shelf, so I grabbed them so I could show you. And they are The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry by Rachel Joyce and The Music Shop by Rachel Joyce. So these 2 are obviously on my radar, and I do hope to get to them soon. And I will see if I agree with Adam or not. If you have read any of the other books that he suggests, please let me know your thoughts on them, and yeah, put that in the comments. And if you go to the link, you will be able to hear all of his suggestions. There's quite a few. So these are just some of the highlights that kind of got me thinking about this topic. So because I do love a book that is emotional and just rips your heart, right out of your chest. So today I'm going to share 5 books that are on my shelves, and I'm anticipating that they will break my heart. And I'm going to start with my current read, actually, which I am buddy reading with Sonja, one of my friends and a huge BookTube supporter. Sonja and I are reading A Little Life by Hanya, Yanigahara. And this book has been sitting here taunting me for a long time, since shortly after it was published. I feel like it's one of those books that everyone has read except for me. Well, me and Sonja in this case. I also know that it's going to rip my heart out. I have started the book, and you can see where the bookmark is there. I'm just finishing up chapter 2. So I still can't say a whole lot about it, but it's about 4 classmates and friends, and there has already been some foreshadowing about Jude and his family, or lack of family, and I do know, and everyone has told me who has read this, to be ready for all of the emotions with this one. So I'm hoping that I have prepared my heart well enough, and that reading this with Sonja will also help. So the second book on my shelf that I think will break my heart is a recommendation from Ann, from her channel Ann Novella. And when Ann did her top 10 books of 2022, she talked about The Street by Ann Petry, and literally said that it is a book that breaks your heart. So this is about a Black woman trying to raise her son in the late 1940s in Harlem. And just because of the way Anne talked about this book so passionately, I immediately put it on my TBR and was able to pick it up because like I said, I love books that make me feel deeply, and I'm hoping that this will be one of them. So the next 3 books on my list are all nonfiction, and they might work for the new readathon in April called People April. And this is being hosted by Elisabeth from Bookworm and Books, and by Roz at Scallydandling about the books. And I'm pretty excited about it. I will leave links to both of their channels and to their announcement videos, so you can check that out and see if you want to participate. It's a pretty easy readathon. You just have to read 1 book, so you can check that out. The first book that I think will be on my radar for this readathon is a book and an author that I have been really intrigued by for a long time, but I've never read. And that is The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. So this is a memoir about, and I think it's a relatively short period of time in Joan Didion's life, when her daughter became gravely ill, then her husband dies, and then she herself had to have brain surgery. So there's definitely a lot to unpack there. Death, grief, motherhood, a marriage, facing our own mortality, all things I gravitate towards, and all things that I'm sure will pull at those heartstrings. Plus, I've heard really good things about Joan Didion's writing, and she's written a lot more than I thought, and I have a couple of her other books on my shelf, so hopefully I can get to this soon, and then I will, continue reading some of her work. Up next is a story that I have never been able to shake. It has stayed with me ever since I saw the movie a while ago now, while I was traveling on a plane. And I saw that Colin Firth was starring in it, and I had never heard of it before. And I really haven't heard a lot of it since, and I thought I would try it. And then I was completely riveted and completely shattered by the time it was over. And the book is The Railway Man by Eric Lomax. If this book even is half as captivating as the movie, then my heart will break into a million pieces. Eric Lomax was tortured by the Japanese during World War II. This left him incredibly traumatized, unable to form relationships, and it wasn't until he was able to seek some help that he could kind of come to terms with what had happened to him. And then 50 years later, he comes face to face with one of his tormentors. So I am really interested in how close the real story of the book is to the movie, especially the ending. So the movie really did leave a mark on me. This is a story that I have thought about so many times since watching the movie. And when I found out it was a book, I picked it up right away, and like a little life have put it off, because although I really want to read it, I also know that it will not be an easy read at all. So continuing along with the theme of war and torture, another book that has been on my shelf so long that I ended up seeing the movie first, and that is Unbroken by Laura Hillenbrand. And this is another World War II story about Louis Zamperini. He was a talented runner and had his sights set on the Berlin Olympics until war broke out. And he was an airman and crashed into the ocean. So the fact that he survived that is astonishing. And then the fact that he survives everything else that happens to him is a flippin' miracle. Again, if the movie followed the book and story, then this will be an incredible read and will break my heart again. I've also heard such great things about Laura Hillenbrand's writing, and I haven't read any of her books yet, although I'm familiar with them. So that will hopefully change soon too. So these are the 5 books that I'm predicting will break my heart. I think I'm definitely in for reading some really, really good books and books that have an impact, and I'm in for an emotional roller coaster ride. All of the books, with the exception of one, is rated over 4 stars on Goodreads, which is pretty amazing as well. The one that is under 4 stars is still a 3.93 when I looked it up. So that's still like a really solid book. In a little while, I'm hoping to do a video of, I don't know how many, but a number of books on my shelf that I've already read that did break my heart. So I will share those with you coming up soon. For now, please let me know if you have read any of these 5 books, or if you have read any of the books that Adam Sokol suggested. Did they break your heart? And are there any books that you would add to this list? I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.